So thank you very much. I would also like to thank the organizers for inviting me here. First time in India, and I'm enjoying the hospitality and your great cuisine. And I was asked to speak about the role of military in cybersecurity, and this is a very difficult task for me because we have covered this issue quite extensively over the 2 days here. We have spoken about deterrence, cyber-enabled warfare, asymmetric threats, the difficulties of attribution, etc. So it's very difficult for me to add something new to this discussion. But again, this is also easy for me because I can skip half of the points that I was intending to present you. And I'm actually looking at this topic from a angle or from a perspective of a small state, giving Estonia as an example. And since I've traveled far here, I think I should also speak a little bit about my country, to give you an idea about the cultural context and also the mental modes that will explain why we think in the way we think about military's role in cybersecurity. So I come from a northeastern European corner, a tiny country, a village in local terms, also very small country in European terms. We have only 1.3 million people in Estonia, and that's a challenge for us. And this also explains many other things that we have done over the years. We are digitally quite developed country. We have a nationwide electronic ID card since 2002, which enables all users, and this is a mandatory card with a chip and everything, to authenticate themselves digitally and to sign digitally. And this works as a key to a range of different e-services. We are also a proud nation of iVoters, internet voters. We have voted over the internet since 2005 in 8 nationwide elections, local elections, parliamentary elections, European Parliament elections. And we have a number of e-services, like digital prescriptions. You go to a doctor and you get your prescription digitally, so you go to the pharmacy, you present your ID card, you authenticate yourself, and you get your medicine. And we hope that this service will now run across border. We have very good cooperation with Finland as well. They use the same similar technological platform to exchange data, so we hope to develop cross-border e-services with our neighbors. Well, we have many other services such as e-school. I'm here, but I can still check how my two children are doing at school, what horrible grades they're getting, and parents love that, and the children don't that much. But so the only 3 things that you cannot do digitally in Estonia is to get married, to get divorced, and to buy property. So I guess these are the 3 most controversial things in the human life. But we have estimated that by all these digital services, we save 1 week per capita. So by going digital, we can actually save time and save a lot of resources. And for a small state, which is not a particularly rich state, this is a significant thing. So what we protect in Estonia, we don't protect computers per se. We protect values that are created or enhanced by ICT. And we protect trust in ICT because how information systems fail. They fail in 2 ways. They either break or people lose trust in using them. And since our government basically equals e-government because we have so many e-services, if people don't use these e-services anymore, it means that they don't trust the government. So this is a major national security issue for us as well. So we protect our digital way of life, as we say, although some of us enjoy very low-tech hobbies such as cross-country skiing and singing in masses. But this is what they can do in the time saved during the time saved by these digital services. So we acknowledge that we are a small state that comes with a set of disadvantages. we know that the information systems are getting increasingly complex, so complex that it goes beyond the cognitive ability to comprehend the systems for normal IT people, and for a small country it's extreme challenge to find these brains to be able to defend your systems, because also the attack vectors are becoming increasingly complex. Also, you cannot have a 360 degrees coverage of threat vectors, of risk management. So some capabilities are out of reach. So you have to have very good cooperation with larger countries who have better situational awareness. So you rely on your good friends who can assist you in that. So international cooperation is extremely important, particularly for smaller states. Cross-border dependencies mean brain drain, and we also have Estonian skilled IT people going to other countries, and we try to get also good brains to Estonia, but this is very difficult. And of course, as we have spoken also earlier, the supply chain is a very big problem, particularly for smaller countries, because you have very little influence over the software and hardware producers. But of course, you have some advantages. It's not only about disadvantages. So first thing is that you have shorter communication lines within and between public agencies, and shorter political distance between central government and local governments, which means that you have shorter reaction times in a crisis where you need to make a very quick decision, and that means that the crisis management capabilities, the defense capabilities, and other capabilities are available at a short notice, and they're quite flexible and easy to apply. You can also achieve better public-private partnership for the same reasons, because everybody knows everybody, and you have very good cooperation between public and private sectors. And smaller administrations are also easier to reform, and they are more prone to use new technologies and innovations. And cyber can also be a powerful tool for small but sophisticated actors, such as digital power. Gives asymmetric advantage for smaller actors, because compared to conventional security domains, cyber domain has relatively low barriers of entry, and even a lone warrior can wreak havoc in enemies' networks if he or she has significant or sufficient skill and cunning. The asymmetry also creates an imbalance of attack space, because large technologically dependent nations have a larger network to defend as well, compared to smaller states who have a, I guess, better overview of their networks, and it's easier to defend smaller network surface. So mass is no longer a critical factor in military strategic and operational equations. About the role of the military in a more focused way. It's actually easier to speak about the role of cyber in military than the role of military in cyber, because this domain is so heavily dominated by civilian and non-military stakeholders. But what we have when we speak about cyber battlefields, we have little green men who are operating in networks, and this is not a new phenomenon. These are proxies, patriotic hackers, state-influenced or state-controlled malicious actors. So governments may agree on norms between each other, or not to attack hospitals or kindergartens, but it does not apply for proxies. And in cyber-enabled warfare, we may see trained soldiers not only fighting between each other, but also with ponytailed hackers in their green pajamas, who are operating from their basement or bedroom. Strategic game changer was Stuxnet in 2010, but the game changed again late last year in Ukraine, in fact, with the Black Energy campaign that led to a massive power outage affecting hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. And when Stuxnet made us believe that attacking a national critical infrastructure is a very expensive and sophisticated thing, it needs considerable pre-planning, intelligence, knowledge of the systems, then the Black Energy campaign shows us something else. Because the attackers used a source code of a Trojan called Black Energy that was discovered in 2007, and enhanced it with additional features, and the result was quite effective. It did not only give the attackers remote access to Ukrainian power distribution companies' networks, but also enabled them to shut down the critical systems. And moreover, by wiping the data in the systems, they made it extremely difficult to make the systems up and running again. So the Black Energy campaign that affected Ukraine may show how future attacks could look like, and power is a vulnerability for every nation, every critical operator, or every operator, and it is actually a dream for any attacker to have a major blackout, such kind. We spoke quite a lot about deterrence during these 2 days, about deterrence by punishment, deterrence by denial, and about its inapplicability in cyber domain. I would slightly disagree, but just slightly, because despite the excessive build-up of the offensive cyber capabilities, we have not seen the excessive use of these cyber weapons. And it seems that the modern era MAD, mutually assured destruction, still applies, but it's built upon uncertainty, and we can redefine it as mutually assured doubt. Because since there are so many question marks about other actors' capabilities, the fear about the inability to defend against counterattacks also plays a significant deterrent factor. And compared to the nuclear weapons that effectively guaranteed MAD 50 years ago, cyber weapons can be much more unpredictable, and once they're launched, it's impossible to control their proliferation and their explosion perimeter, and it's much difficult to forecast the spread and consequences. So I think that we have, if we speak purely about military deterrence, then we see some of that. As was rightly said yesterday, cyberspace has a territorial nature, but not in a geographic, but rather in an ecosystem sense, because the failures of ICT can have serious national security implications, but the response to cyber threats cannot be conceived purely in terms of classical warfare. A cyber attack against national critical infrastructure can have cascading effects to economy, society, and governments in ways difficult to predict, model, or to deal with purely from a military perspective, because pure military planning and countermeasures cannot play a active or critical role in cybersecurity because of the civilian nature of cyberspace, and because of the predominantly non-military actors that are the most probable attackers. And moreover, much of the expertise, the cyber talent that we have been speaking about, are not resident in the military, and therefore military planning should be well synchronized with preparation of national emergencies. And only this way we can ensure that military intelligence, governmental critical infrastructure operators, and other key players in private sector are sufficiently informed, prepared, and resilient to handle large-scale cyber attacks. Because when the attacks start, or it seems like a simple incident, and you can't really predict how the crisis will evolve. So in the beginning, it's your CERT that takes action, and then you might have other actors coming in. But you cannot change the teams in the middle of the battle, so you can't hand it over to the military team. So all the actors must be involved in the whole duration of the crisis. And we call it a whole of nation defense, or actually whole of ecosystem defense. And we said that people matter. Really, you have to invest in people. Talent management is important. You need to use the brains that you already have in the country, not necessarily in the military, but in the private sector or in the civilian sector. And you need to find a clever way how to make them cooperate. In Estonia, we call it collective brain. And what it means that you have the best people in the most critical positions working together in the best way possible. So for that, you have to be either very rich or smart. And since we're not rich, we claim to be a bit smart. So we have a community called Cyber Defense League, which is a unit in our voluntary National Guard called National Defense League. It's a kind of paramilitary National Guard. And the Cyber Defense unit comprises of volunteers, mostly working in private sector, ISPs, banks, having well-paid day jobs, but they volunteer their time in order to meet regularly, exchange information, and the government can use their skills in helping to defend the country, the critical information infrastructure networks, if there's a large-scale attack. And by the Cyber Defense League, we can actually attract people, although we use conscription in Estonia, then the ponytails, they somehow tend to avoid military, tend to avoid conscription. So, but we still manage to attract those people who don't like to be part of military into this militarized unit, which is a voluntary unit. Because if they can do it voluntarily, they are happy to do that. And most of the cyber talent is not or doesn't have a military mentality. This IT subculture doesn't think very much of military. I can say that. Of course, you also have to exercise a lot. We do have national exercises. We participate in international exercises with the EU, Cyber Europe, with NATO, Cyber Coalition. The NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence in Tallinn has an annual technical cyber defense exercise, real-time attack and defense exercise, so live fire exercise, which is the largest international exercise of such kind. And also international cooperation. We cooperate within our region with other states afar. We invest quite a lot on capacity building as well. And as it was said yesterday, I believe that it starts with the region, although in cyber borders doesn't matter so much, but with your neighbors you have more in common. You have lots of cross-border contacts, connections, and you have similar vulnerabilities. So it should start within the region. So this was all that I had to say. Thank you very much, and happy to take your questions.